Good morning, American Dream Makers. It is so nice to see you. Welcome to the show today. I am Zena Krogadal, and I have a special guest coming on today, Jerry Isenhour. But first, let me play the intro video. Hello there, American Dream Makers. It is a wonderful day, and I'm so glad you are joining us. And if you are here, please be sure to share this out. I have a great guest here who has wonderful things to share, and we want to get his message out. His name is Jerry Isenhour, and I met Jerry on the Grow Live Academy, and he has become such a great resource and man of so much knowledge to share. He is an author. He's also a coach and business owner. He owns a chimney sweeping business, and he's helping others around the country to live the American dream. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Jerry on. Hi, Jerry.
Well, good afternoon, Zena. How are you doing today? I'm really
I'm
looking
doing.
forward to this, and it's an honor to be with you today.
Thank you so much. I know you've got a busy. Wow, that was my Siri that just spoke to me. I guess she's excited too.
Well, hey, there's nothing like getting Siri happy on a Friday afternoon.
That's for sure. It just shows that she's listening at all times, right, Miss Siri? So, but I'm so glad that you are here. I know you were talking about how you were across the country in Arizona, around my neck of the woods, and then now you're back home again.
Yep, I'm usually traveling somewhere every week. Last week I was in your neck of the woods. I was in Tucson, Arizona last week. This week I was in a town in Northern California by the name of Wairika, California, where I have to fly into Medford, Oregon, and then drive for about an hour to get to my client location there.
Oh, wow. In Medford, Oregon. Wow.
Yep.
That's pretty yeah, that's a smaller town, I believe, but it's probably grown like every other town I feel like in the USA.
Yeah, it's a fairly good sized town now. Like I said, the airport is not a massive airport, so it's easy in and out once you're there.
Oh, that's great. Well, Jerry, tell us a little bit about yourself and where you reside right now and what you are doing.
Okie dokie. So, anyway, my name is Jerry Isenhour, and I am a full time coach and consultant. I basically work with the home services arena with people that do work at consumers' homes across America. Now, when Zena introduced me, did run an active chimney sweep service. I had a retail operation that was a fireplace and patio shop, and also a manufacturing entity. But in 2010, I became a coach full time and started working with people in my niche, which are home service contractors. And I work with people all across the US. We have an online education platform with about 750 courses that people do subscribe and take. I also do quite a bit of speaking around the country at different events. In 2017, I wrote my first book, and now I've released 10 books, with my most recent one that was just published in the last month. But basically, work with people to help them turn their dreams into their business realities. That's what we do at CVC Success Group.
That's no wonder you're busy. Wow, that is amazing. That is quite the resume, so to speak. And I'm so glad that that you have decided to really come along and help others succeed. Because obviously, you ran a very successful business as a chimney sweeper. You weren't just a chimney sweeper. You really ran an amazing business, from what I understand.
Yeah, well, I was an entrepreneur. Like I said, we had three different things. We were a manufacturer of outdoor living components and sold through a dealer network around the country. And I started out as a chimney sweep business and expanded into the retail side of the business with the fireplace and patio shop. And then we expanded in the outdoor living manufacturing, which my wife still operates and owns that outdoor manufacturing company today.
Wow. So that's awesome. So your accent, I know my listeners are going to want to know, Where does that come from? What part?
Actually, I don't have an accent. I'm in
Oh,
North Carolina, and a lot of people don't know this, but the native North Carolinian actually speaks as close to the speech that William Shakespeare spoke in his day, because in Eastern North Carolina, it's more pronounced than it is. I'm from near Charlotte, so, but yeah, people do say I do have somewhat of an accent, but I don't believe I do. I believe I talk properly.
the rest of us have accents then.
That's correct. It's all y'all that are disabled with the accents, not us.
Perspective, perspective,
Yes.
right? Oh, that's so cool. So North Carolina, you did you grow up in North Carolina?
I've lived within 5 miles of where I'm sitting right now almost on my entire life. Grew right up the street, so I can almost walk to the house I grew up in from right here. I'm about, half mile down the road, but basically lived in this little area my whole life. I'm in a town by the name of Concord, North Carolina, which is right next to Charlotte, North Carolina.
Wow. That's really phenomenal, because to live just within 5 miles from where you grew up, that
Yeah.
is not everybody has that opportunity. So you didn't want to fly the nest and leave the coop, or however way
No.
we say it.
I've traveled all over the U.S. I've been just about in every state in the U.S. And to be honest, I don't know where I would want to move to from here. It's like when you talked about Arizona. Your air is too dry for me in Arizona. I hear people talk about they love Arizona, but the air is simply too dry there for us that are used to more humidity.
I can see that now. Um, I haven't made it to North Carolina yet, although I will be there the end of January. So I am excited to see it. I've been close to North Carolina. I've been in Tennessee, in Virginia, but I've not been the actual set foot in the actual state of North Carolina. So I am very, very excited to see. I hear it's absolutely beautiful.
Oh yeah, we
So,
have mountains, we have the rolling foothills, and then we have the coastal plains. So what's going to bring you to Charlotte?
well, what's going to bring me to Charlotte? I'm actually going to be speaking at an event called Amplify Your Life.
Okay.
So it's pretty exciting, and of course, it's in the middle of winter, so so we shall see what the weather brings, right?
That's correct. And the weather could go any way here this time of year. It could be freezing cold or it could be in the 70s and 80s. We have a lot of variety here.
Yeah, yeah. I would imagine that's how it is here in Prescott, Arizona, as well. We have it gets a little unpredictable, especially in the wintertime, because sometimes it can be just a really nice, feels almost like spring, or we could have a huge snowstorm that can come around. Although I believe probably our snow accumulation probably does not last as long as North Carolina's, but I'm not positive
Ours,
since I haven't been there.
we don't have snow that lingers around. I mean, it may snow this morning and be gone this evening. Once in a while,
Oh,
maybe every few years, we'll get a snowstorm that snow will sustain for a few days. But as a rule, we don't have heavy snows where I live. Now in the mountains, they do, but not here.
okay. Well, that's great. That's great. Then you get to enjoy it, but you don't have to deal with it.
That's correct.
That's kind of how Prescott is. Is like sometimes it'll snow and then mid afternoon it's already gone, and
Yeah.
at worst it may be 2 or 3 days that it's gone. And once in a while it may linger a week or so, but that's it doesn't always happen. So that I can see why you would enjoy that. Sounds like a great weather, and I bet you've got some tall trees. So I cannot wait to come out there and see it, because you probably have woods like we don't have. We have some, but from what I've seen, like in Tennessee and in Virginia, those are some pretty amazing woods that are
Oh
out
yeah,
there.
when you're out here, we have a couple things that you don't find in Arizona. We have trees, we have grass, we have all those kind of things. We don't. When I go in Arizona or out in the West, it's more barren in a lot of areas. But no, it's heavily wooded here about everywhere. Lots of trees, lots of grass, all that kind of stuff.
So how did you get started in, well, first you had your first business was chimney sweeping, is that correct? Or is that
That is correct. So I got into chimney sweeping. I was actually working in the printing business at that point. I was an offset pressman. And the thing about the printing business is, and you're running a printing press, once it's set up, it's kind of a boring thing. And for the press is running and there's nothing really to do. So a guy that ran the printing press next to me he brought a magazine one day. It was a Mother Earth News, and it said, "Hey, become a chimney sweep." So it's like, I was never meant to work in a factory. I was never meant to work for other people. So it seemed really interesting. So I sent off for the information and became a chimney sweep. And that was back in the early 80s. 1981's when I started doing that. So started in the business then, started just and learned from that point. But at the same time, I started becoming very active in both associations and also in educational foundations. So around 1984, I started presenting training around the U.S. and became a consultant to a lot of people, a mentor, became an officer in those associations. Actually, this may sound crazy, but I've studied chimneys in 17 European countries at this point, going to various chimney sweep schools, that type of thing in the European continent. Spent quite a bit of time there and training myself.
Wow. That's awesome that you pretty much sounds like you took the lead in your industry uh,
Yeah.
being there. So when you started your business, you said it was in 1980s. Did you already have a family or were you single still or?
Already had kids. I was married to my first wife at that point. So yeah, I had kids and I just never was meant to be working for other people. My personality does not work well to be I'm not a person that doesn't get supervised very well. So being self-employed, that was something that was one of my dreams. And the chimney sweep business seemed to be an area to get into that you could really be successful in if you applied yourself to it, just like in any business.
Well, that's great that you knew that about yourself early on, that you needed to be an entrepreneur. And was that scary at all, going from working for a manufacturing company, getting a steady paycheck to branching out and running your own business?
Was it scary? You better believe it. I mean, you're used to getting those things every week you just said called paychecks. And all of a sudden, you've got to get it set up where you're writing your own paychecks. So going through the challenge of building a business and then getting the business to scale larger, yeah, it's quite a bit of a challenge. And then when you start opening up other businesses, in addition to it, then it becomes even more of a challenge. How do you fund these businesses, those type of things?
Yeah, is that why you have less hair? Because is that what I have to look forward
Well,
to?
I guess you could say that, but also I'm 70 years old, so it's kind of a
Oh,
natural thing with a lot of people of the male persuasion. For some reason, we start losing our hair and it turns gray and those kind of things. One of the things that women don't have to go through as a rule is the aging process where your hair goes away. Y'all's just turns gray. Ours turns gray and it disappears.
yeah. Well, the nice thing is though that having no hair on your head is actually trendy now. So,
Yeah.
that's people do it on purpose now. Even if they have hair, they just shave their head. So
Well,
that's
I
cool.
actually at one time I did shave my head. Before that, I had a ponytail, and I went from having a ponytail to a shaved head for a number of years, and then I let it grow out just a little bit because shaving your head every morning is a really, it's kind of troublesome to take a razor to your head. A lot of times you're going to be nicking your head. You got little cuts all over it. So I gave up on the head shaving some years ago.
I could imagine that that would be a challenge, shaving the head. Just shaving a beard seems
Yeah.
like it's challenging.
Well, but you're shaving a beard, you see it in the mirror. When you're shaving your head, you're back here, you don't see it. You got to go by feel back there.
Mm, boy. But that maybe you need to write a book about how to shave your head. Maybe that would be a good selling book too.
There you go. Maybe that's one. One of my goals has been since I started writing books is I try to turn out a book once a year, and that's what it's like always. What's the next subject? Those type of things. So you build from that point. So maybe you're right. Maybe I'll do one on why shave your head and how to shave your head properly one day.
So, something like that. But let's talk about your current book. Where
Sure.
did where did your profit go?
Yes.
That's the book, right?
Uh,
And
the, yeah. The book is Where Did the Profit Go? And this book came about because in the consulting, the coaching that I do, I go into businesses and I do analysis in business. And one of the things that we see is a significant amount of profit flows out the window through waste. Waste can rob. If we look at a restaurant or a grocery store. They have a real problem with food waste because it sits there and then there becomes a point that the food has to be thrown away, trucked away because it is beyond selling. So it's same thing in business. When you're in business, no matter what business you're in, your waste can kill your business budget. And there's actually a corresponding number of sales dollars that you have to sell to compensate for the waste. So you've either got to price your products, your services to include the price of waste, which causes your price to go up, or you need to work to eliminate the waste in the business and turn the waste dollars into a profit dollar. And it kind of depends on the number of sales dollars is kind of amazing. If you take a company that has a 5% net profit, that's after everything's done, but that's the profit on the business for the year. And you've down to a company, a business that has a 5% net income. Well, here's the really bad side about that. For every dollar of waste that that company produces, that requires $20 in sales to compensate for that waste because the waste always comes from the profit. The lower the net profit of the business is, the more sales dollars it takes to compensate for that waste. But that's money out of your pocket. It's money that's going right down the drain. And it's money that most people just don't realize they're losing till we focus them in to look at it and start them on processes of waste tracking, that type of stuff. And that's what's in this book. I wrote the prescription of how do you track the waste? What's the process to track that waste?
That sounds pretty fascinating because I'm going to guess that a lot of entrepreneurs are not tracking the waste or even
No,
know how.
no, they don't know how, and they don't see it's, it's kind of like, have you ever taken a picture inside your house and see things in the picture that you don't see otherwise? Like you see a flower pot that may be out of place, or like now, if you look in the screen, you got four lights, but if you're in the picture, you can start focusing on these things. So that's what you've got to do with the business. You've got to take this picture of the business and be able to see where is this waste going, and then turning that waste into the profit dollars, because it's amazing how many dollars go out of a business. In a lot of businesses, we find that the waste commonly can go 10%, 15%, or even 20% of the company gross income. So if you had a business that was doing $1 million a year and it was producing 20% waste, what you're looking at is that's costing you $200,000 a year, that instead of going into your profit side, it goes into the waste pile.
Wow. That's pretty genius that you have come up with this formula to track all of it and then
Yeah.
turn those dollars into working for you.
Right. What you've got to do is see what the problem is, and then you've got to eliminate the waste. I mean, let me give you an example. And I saw this morning, and it was about United Airlines. And I don't know if you know this or not, but United Airlines is getting ready to change their boarding process. And what they're going to start doing is, if you're on an airline, on a United flight, the people that are seated in the window seats are going to be the first boarding group. Then they're going to board the people that are in the center seats. Then they're going to board the people that are in the aisle seats. Because if you're getting on an airplane and somebody is sitting in the aisle seat, that slows down the process. So they're thinking, and the cost to an airline, it said in there, is $200 a minute for sitting on the ground. So the whole process is to get the plane into the air faster, because that's when they're earning their dollars. Even the people that work on that plane, they don't get paid until that door closes. And that's when their pay starts. So the whole idea of an airline is we got to get it on the ground and back in the air as rapidly as possible. If we look at Southwest Airlines, Southwest has always been viewed as one of the most efficient airlines out there. And they do a lot of things for that efficiency. One is their boarding. If you look, you board, and I call it the cattle call. I hate it, and I don't fly Southwest because I don't like it for that. But you line up there and you go in and you pick your seats out. Well, Southwest surmised that that was the most efficient way to load that plane and get it out. If we also look at Southwest Airlines, they only fly Boeing 737s. So every pilot is trained on the airline that the airplanes that airline is flying. If you look at Delta, you look at United, you look at American, they're flying Boeing planes, they're flying Airbus planes, and different. You got Airbuses, it could be a 319, a 320, a 321, a Boeing 737. So, your pilots are not trained on each one, but that also saves them because they only start stock parts for a Boeing 737.
Wow. That's I did not know
Excuse me,
that.
I've got a little bit of a sinus condition today.
No
So,
problem.
I hate it, but they come off, I've been out. That's what happens when you change these environments like I do so often, pick up head colds and that kind of stuff. But, like I said, it's like if you look at one of the best places to observe efficiency in business is a franchise restaurant. It's like the McDonald's. If you ever study McDonald's, what is so inspiring was back in the 50s, the McDonald brothers had invented a system in California to take a hamburger from the order time to the burger was delivered to the customer in 30 seconds or less. And they had what they called the speedy food system. And it was all about how can you deliver this? And they had custom made kitchen tools. One of the things, if you ever watched The Founder, which is a story of McDonald's and Ray Kroc,
I haven't. No.
really, you want to get that movie because it shows you the efficiency that McDonald's had in developing this system of getting the food to the customer as rapid as possible with just the right. They had a special tool that put the mustard on. They had a special tool that put the ketchup on. Because if you could figure if you start wasting a quarter ounce of mustard on every McDonald hamburger, what would that mount up to in a year's time? That's
Wow.
waste. It's like if you go into a Taco Bell, watch how they put the meat on the taco. They've got a special designed implement that dips up a specific amount of ground beef and puts it into there. Then they have their various tools like sour cream. They got like a caulking gun, one squirt, that's it. And everything is measured out to where you're eliminating the waste. So again, it's efficient businesses, they look at this. Like, did you know that Ford Motor Company at one time gave a charcoal grill with every Model A Ford?
No.
Okay. Well, different. I don't know how much you know about charcoal, but you have hardwood charcoal and you have what's called charcoal briquettes, which are formed from sawdust. So back in the early part of the 20th century, Henry Ford was making cars. And at that time, cars had a lot of wood on them. So what wood produced in the waste was it produced a lot of sawdust. So Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, and Henry's cousin were looking at this pile of sawdust that was piling up. So they looked at it and came to the conclusion that they could make charcoal briquettes out of that sawdust. The charcoal briquette was actually invented in the 1890s by a guy by the name of Zwoller. So they took this concept and they started manufacturing charcoal briquettes and they sold them at the Ford dealership. So in order to make this product move, they started giving a free charcoal grill with every Ford. You can actually Google images and you can see pictures of Ford charcoal, pictures of charcoal of the grills that they were giving away and all that can be located on Google Images. But what they did was they set up a system. They were using a waste product. They turned the waste into a sellable item. Then they made the appliance that burns it into it, and you can only buy the Ford charcoal at your dealership, your Ford dealer, which brought people back into the showroom to buy charcoal. And now they see new cars, so it was a cycle of all the different things that went on about this.
Wow.
So you didn't
Very.
know what?
I
Say
didn't
that.
know that. I said
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
right. It's like Henry Ford, he also, like I said, he used a lot of wood in his plant. So it was a choice of where's he going to get his wood from. So at that time, when he ordered parts, he specified the type of crate, which would be a wooden crate that would be the shipping container to ship the parts into the automobile factory. Well, when the crates came in, Henry Ford's people took the crates apart, and that's what they got the wood from to put into the new car, were the shipping crates that they were shipping the parts into Detroit to his factory. Again, Henry Ford was he was the forefather of lean processes in manufacturing in the US. So Henry Ford invented a lot of processes that are still in use today. In fact, Toyota became the premier manufacturer of automobiles in the world. They were the number one seller of automobiles a few years ago. And American executives traveled to Japan and they asked the Japanese, where did you learn these processes? Because the Japanese and Toyota are known for what's called lean manufacturing, where you are not having any waste. And they said it was simple. We read Henry Ford's book because what in lean, what you have what's called the 5S system. That is where we sort it, we standardize it, but the last one is called sustain. And this is where people have a problem in the waste tracking. They cannot sustain the process. So if you don't sustain it, it goes away. And that's due to management. And that's where business owners have to take a look at what their systems are and to keep this waste from occurring. I hope I haven't bored you with all this, but these are just interesting.
I find it very interesting. Yeah, this is information I didn't know. So this is very interesting.
Yeah,
for sure. And so, absolutely, if you if you own a company and you want to know what waste you've got going on, which it sounds like you need to find out if you don't know, you need to get this book by Jerry Isenhour on Amazon, and it's Where Did the Profit Go? Or you can click on this link, which I put into the chat. So you can click on that link and go to that, or you can just go on Amazon and type in Jerry Isenhour and Where Did the Profit Go? Because this sounds very interesting. And wow. And you think about when you were explaining, turning sawdust into charcoal. Wow.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, I'll give you another example. Have you ever seen the fireplace logs that you buy wrapped in paper in a grocery store? It's called a Jerry. Have you ever seen these? Okay. Mm-hmm. Where that is a byproduct. And the company that started doing this was manufacturing another product, and it had a lot of sawdust, a lot of shavings. What do you think that product line was?
I don't know.
You ready? Pencils.
Pencils.
Yes, if you look at a pencil, you know how it's flat on all those sides? Well, all that is going to be shaved off. So they had all this piling up. And then from that point, they came up with how they could convert that into a fire log that people could burn in their fireplace.
Ah, amazing. And so so with those two things, the examples that you gave, those were pretty big profit making products.
Extremely profitable. And it also, and the other side of this is the environmental savings we have here in this, because it's not going into a landfill. Okay. You live in Arizona, and to me, Arizona is a couple things. Arizona is an environmentally friendly state. A lot of things. I enjoy going to Arizona. Be honest with you, when I fly into Phoenix, which I always do, I drive to Tucson because I love to see that countryside down through there. And I usually do a little sightseeing while I'm out there. This past trip, I rode down to a little town on the Mexican border just to see. I just like to see border towns and see what they look like that are right on the Mexican border. So go down, see what it looks like in different areas of the country. And that's one of the advantages of what I do. I get to travel everywhere. Like I can have a trip into Phoenix and go visit the Grand Canyon while I'm there, those type of things. Because y'all got some really unique Sonora, California, up where all the red stuff of red dirt is and all that. But that's one of the advantages of what I get to do for a living is I get to see a lot of America.
Wow, that's awesome. You are living the life, Jerry. Yeah, definitely living the American dream. And how cool is it that you decided that you were going to continue to help others obtain that dream as well? Because honestly, Jerry, from what you're telling me, and I'm listening to all the experiences and adventures that you've had, you probably could be retired right now and not have to travel so much and just kick back and enjoy and smoke a cigar once in a while. And
Well,
yet,
but that's no fun. I mean, I don't. Lena, is it enjoyable that I can get paid to do what I enjoy doing? Yes. But more importantly than that, I really feel like I'm helping people, like say, turn those business dreams into their business realities. It's like what you're saying you and your husband's getting ready to do, where you're coaching entrepreneurial couples, because working together in a business is not easy. It really can be a clash, and it can really, I mean, it can bear on the marriage really hard. And like I said, that's one of the things that my wife, who is a coach also, this was one of her concentrations, was working with these couples that have went into business together. And some people just aren't made to work together. Their personalities are not made for that. And so sometimes one of the pleasures I get to do is tell them, hey, one of you's got to leave. One of you's got to be fired. You both cannot have this personal life and survive in this business. You're going to kill each other.
well, and that is probably sound advice for some couples, because it's better for that to happen than for the marriage to dissolve. Because what fun is it to obtain and succeed in life, and then you have the relationship that your most sacred partner completely gone, out of your life. It's, you can rise to the top, but it's pretty lonely without that partner to celebrate it with. So
Very much so. And there's no business worth that. And like I said, that's where people have got to communicate. They got to be open with each other. They got to understand what's involved. Running a business is a big sacrifice. You would think that, hey, people get self-employed so they can set their own hours and all this. Well, be honest with you, that's BS. If you're going to run a successful business, it's not a 9 to 5 job. It's not a 40-hour a week job. And there's going to be days that you're going to go to work and you're going to pay for the privilege of working today because there was no income brought in that day. Or what's worse, you went in the hole and you got to borrow the money or whatever to keep the business surviving. Yeah, that takes a lot of dedication, and it can put a lot of stress on relationships.
oh, absolutely, absolutely, because those are all top stressors that do break a marriage. When you're talking about finances, when you're talking about complete tension that you can't get through, and not understanding your roles, like you said, sometimes it's best to say, okay, maybe both of us shouldn't be in the business. Maybe one of us needs to just be out of the business and have that role be different. And
Yes.
that's just as important. I mean, so even if your spouse isn't in business with you, there is an absolute role that helps that business to be successful, and you're still just as invested. You want that business to succeed because you got to pay the bills. So whether you're in it with your spouse or you're not, you want the business to succeed.
Yeah, because just like I said, the bills got to be paid. And that goes back to the processes in this book and where we can divert that waste into profit dollars. And that's the whole secret. Because if you're running a business requires profit, and profit is not your salary. Profit is the on top of you what you're going to pay yourself. And a lot of people don't understand what profit actually is. But if you were going to make a stock investment, you wouldn't want to have a stock investment that doesn't deliver a return to you. You're going to look for a stock that's going to produce revenue for you. And same thing in a business. The business has to produce revenue. If you're going to own a business, there's going to come a day that you may decide to sell this business. Well, if there's no profit, you're going to have a hard time. If you ever watch Shark Tank and watch those sharks and how they go after people, which is, when I'm traveling hotels, I watch Shark Tank about every night. It seems like it's on everywhere I go. You can always pull up Shark Tank, and I really enjoy watching Shark Tank at night and how these guys and gals look at businesses, how they look if they're going to invest into it, and how the return is going to come to them.
Yeah, yeah, very very interesting for sure to watch shows like that. And thankfully, there are shows like that out there, because you can, like you said, learn a lot. Not only is it entertaining, but you can learn a lot from that, right?
Very,
As you're
very much so. Yes.
So, Jerry, what other books have you written? So this is your latest. I know you've written many.
Yeah. Okay. So in preparation, and like I said, I went and I grabbed all the books I'd written because I got them sitting across the room. So this is the most recent one, which is Where Did the Profit Go? Okay. Now, also in a business, and this is a problem also, which is people have so much information in their heads. So the people to come to work for them, they don't have systems written of how to what to follow and how to do it. So a couple of years, I wrote this book, which is called Standardizing Standard Operating Procedures, or SOPs. And then this is called Step Up to Success. And this is a handbook on how to train new people, how to onboard them that come into your company. This is a book I wrote last year. It is for safety, and this is on safety processes for service technicians that run into homes. Okay. I'm gonna hold one off to the last so I can tell you about that. This is Blue Collar Marketing, and this is a collaborative book that I wrote with two marketeers that market for people, tell them about how to market a blue collar home service type businesses. This is a book on how to train people when they first come to work for you. This is another collaborative book here, the Small Business Owner's Manual. I wrote this with this independent CFO and also a human resources manager is who joined into this. So wrote that as a collaborative book. And this is the Daily Differences in Life. This was actually the first book that I ever participated in. And there was 26 authors, and we worked as a collaborative team doing that. And this is the CBC Success Journal. And this has 17 authors in it. Our friend Ken Wise, he offered one of these, but different, had a lot. Tommy Mello, who's very well known, had other people who came in into that. We published that book. Now, this was my story. This is a story of Jerry. This is Chaos to Reinvention, and it tells you my story, which back in 2010, you talked about success. But in 2010, Zena, everything went upside down for me. Banks called my loans. I had to start all over again. I lost businesses. I lost homes. And so I had to pull myself out. And that's why I entitled it Chaos to Reinvention. But it tells you my story of what I went through to go from the bottom and being personally bankrupt and building back to what I have today. So that was my first book. And all my books are on Amazon. All you have to do is Google my name and you can see any of them on there. And I learned something really interesting the other week. Did you know that if you get an ebook and you have an Alexa, you can turn that ebook into a audible book where Alexa will read that book for you?
I did not know that.
And I just found it out a couple of weeks ago because people are always asking, is it inaudible? Well, I'm going to tell you something. It is harder to record a book for an audible than it is to read the book because you have to edit the recording. The volume has to be at a constant level throughout. You're in a studio. You can't make any mistakes as you're reading this book. So making an audible is not easy. So I found this out when people say, are you going to make it an audible? And I say, have you got an Alexa? And if you do, just order the Kindle book and you can tell Alexa to read that book for you.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
It's very cool.
So that's a lot of books that you've written, which is awesome. And you said you try to write one book a year.
Yeah, my goal right now is to write one book a year. I wrote my first one in 2017, so I'm a little ahead. So I've kind of set myself a goal is once a year, I want to turn out a book once a year. And the purpose of it is, to be honest with you, it's kind of like a legacy to leave to people, leave behind. We're not going to be here forever. And I've got a lot of spoken words. I've got a lot of written words. And my purpose is that, my words will outlive me and survive me. That's kind of, if that makes sense, my books, my articles, my teachings, they're going to be here when I'm dead and gone.
Yeah, that's awesome. You're leaving a legacy, which is awesome. And
right.
So when you're publishing, so that's a lot of books per year. And when you're picking a publisher or you're publishing, there's a lot of options, Jerry. So with your experience in these years of writing, what would your advice be to somebody who might be thinking about writing a book but haven't yet?
If you're going to write a book, first thing is sit down and write. Write. Don't worry about it being correct. Don't worry about the grammatical errors. Don't worry about any of that. After that, you're going to hire an editor. And the editor is going to turn your book into a readable format for other people. because I write just like I talk. Well, that don't work when you're writing a book. You've got to put it into the proper English. So from that point, we have an editor go through it and we agree on all the changes. She puts it in the order for me from that point. Then we use a cover design company. I use the one called 99 Designs, and I will go in there and run a contest. And various designers, 35 to 50 designers, will bid for that cover. They'll put their different ideas up, and we'll select the cover for both the printed book and also for the ebook. Once we have that, then we submit and we self-publish through Amazon. Amazon Publishing is very easy to work with. You go to kdp.com, which is Kindle Direct Publishing, and you upload your manuscript, you upload your cover. And a lot of people don't know this, but the books that you buy off of Amazon, the majority of them are print on demand. In other words, all of my books are sitting there. So when you order a book today, Amazon prints one book if that's what you order, or they print 10 or whatever that day and ship them out to you. Amazon has developed a system for self-publishing, and then you get a residual return that Amazon pays you. You're not paying Amazon. Amazon is paying you whenever they sell a book.
Wow, that's a
So
great
there's
tip.
no call, there's no cost to upload to KDP, which puts it on Amazon. You get a percentage back from that. You know, in fact, I know some New York Times best-selling authors that will tell you today the best way to do a book today is to self-publish. People think finding a publisher to do it, that's not going to get, you got to really be out there. And there's also a lot of people that will do this for you. I mean, you can pay somebody like Mark Victor Hansen, wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul, and they can help you put through there. Michelle Prince is another. She's a part of the Ziegler Corporation. She helps people write books. There's all kinds of sources out there, but the majority of books that move in America today, Amazon is the number one seller of books. So getting it on Amazon, that's going to be critical. And also where you've got it on the self-published format. That way Amazon is not buying inventory from you, which is very hard to make happen. So this system, they can sell your books, and what they're dealing with is the copy for the book and the cover, and they produce the books from that point.
So if you want to order books for yourself, are you paying retail price of
No,
Amazon?
no, I go to KDP and then I have authors prices. Like when I get a book printed, I give a lot of books away. So I'll order a couple hundred. They'll be shipped in here from their publishing outfit. The difference is I pay my author's cost on them, and then I have to pay the freight to get them here. They don't give you prime shipping on that. You have to pay the freight. But the books, yeah, I pay a whole lot less that way than you're going to pay ordering one through Amazon. But it takes a couple weeks. So when you first publish a book, you go ahead and I pay Amazon for a couple books to get my first one. So I got one in my little hand right at that point.
Wow, that's awesome. So that's a great tip that you've got there, because you're right.
Well, see, here's the whole thing. Everyone has a story, Zena. Everybody has a story. And the thing is, and a lot of people may not understand this, the best business card you will ever have is to lay a book in someone's hand. When you are a published author, I mean, when you see me say I have written and published 10 books, what goes through your mind right then?
You are an authority. You're an expert.
Got it. So what you do is when you put a book in a customer's hand, and I don't care what business you're in, okay? What are you in, Zena, besides the coaching thing? What else does Zena do?
Real estate.
Okay, but great. I thought you did. So we'll take real estate. Now, if you are a real estate salesman, you're either representing a buyer or a seller. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay. So now a seller contacts you and says, I want to put my home on the market. And you say, great. And you go through it and you say at the end of it, this is a book I wrote about how to take a home to market. Are you not now above any other real estate agent in that marketplace?
Yes. Yep.
And the same token on the other side, if you publish a book that says how to buy a home and you're representing a buyer, and they contact you and you give them that book as a free gift, then instantly your recognition is above anyone else's. I learned book publishing from a guy, believe it or not, that is in the home mortgage industry. His name is Tim Davis, and he used to work for Movement Mortgage, and he works for another one. I forget which one he's working for now. But that was one of the things that Tim promotes for real estate agents to do is write a book, because no, people throw your business card away. They're not going to throw your book away. Okay. It sits there, it's on somebody's coffee table, or people come in, but it's pretty impressive to people. So it's the best business card you will ever write. And if you're in business, if you're listening to me right now and you're in business, this is one of the best marketing things that you can do to set yourself separate from anybody else in your community. See, when I say the word community, community is the people that will buy from you or may buy from you. So in business, what you've got to do is say, hey, this is why we're different. And that's what the book does. Just like doing this broadcast, and it gets you out in front of people speaking to your community.
Yes, yes. Getting out there, getting in front of people is what you've got to do, or you're going to run behind in business. And I love your tips, Jerry. You are a wealth of knowledge. And I'm so glad that you are not retired, kicking back, and that you're
No,
really out there making a difference in this world. So, Jerry, keep up the wonderful work. Thanks for being an American dream maker for others. Congratulations on living the American dream. And I'm going to have to get that book, Chaos to Reinvention, because that is the American epitome of the American dream right there.
well,
Is that you? Go
it's
ahead.
something else, Zena. And this is the whole thing. And a lot of people don't realize this. But if you're in business, you probably are going to sign a credit line at some time in your life, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So when you sign a credit line for your business and you're guaranteeing that business, and it's at the same bank that your home mortgage is at, if you default, or that bank can call that loan at any time, okay, including your home mortgage. Okay. That's what that book tells you about. Because I actually worked with some Senate subcommittees on this about what the banking system can do to really demolish a business owner if through the credit lines.
Mm, that's good information to know. Um, but I'm so glad that you came back from that and that you were resilient, because I'm sure that book also talks about resiliency and how you rebuild yourself back up. That's what I love about being an American, is that you can start over and
Yeah,
over
that's right.
and
You're never
over again.
down. And
No,
that's one reason I keep working. To be honest with you, I feel like the day that I quit working, I'll probably die in 3 days from lack of having something to do, if you want to know the truth. So, working and stress, hey, I consider that's what's going to let me live a long life.
you're probably right, and especially if you enjoy it, Jerry. I
Yeah,
mean, obviously you very much enjoy it, and you're making a difference in the world. So why not? Why not keep doing it until your last breath? You
yeah,
know,
that's it.
because if you don't enjoy what you're doing, then I can see, yeah, let's kick back, because and that's what you see for a lot of people. They buy into the, let's get a career. They don't necessarily like their job, but I'm going to hold out until retirement, and then I'm going to play.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I thank you so much, Jerry, for being here today. Again, I know you're busy, and you gave so many great nuggets of wisdom. You guys get out there and get Jerry's books. JerryIsenhour.com is also where you can go. I believe that is your website, correct?
Yes,
JerryIsenhour.com.
that's one
And
of them. That one, or cbcsuccessgroup.com. That's the two websites I use.
okay, great. So get a hold of Jerry. He's a wealth of knowledge, as you can see. And if you need coaching, get a hold of Jerry. He obviously knows what he's doing, and he can obviously really analyze a lot of things in your business. So if you need, you need somebody to take an analytical approach and help you to solve the insufficiencies or inefficiencies of your business, Jerry's your guy for sure. And so, Jerry, God bless you, and thank you again for being here.
Hey, we appreciate it. Appreciate you having me as your guest today.
All right. Have a good one, Jerry.
Okay.
Thank you, American Dream Makers. Be sure to share this out, like and share it, and also be a part of the American Dream Makers group. I'm on YouTube and on Facebook. So until next time, we will see you soon.